Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by a very special guest and good friend, Kelly Somers. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jenny. Had a couple of days off, took a couple of days off, so I'm feeling refreshed. And even what was a pretty disastrous Sunday for my FPL team didn't ruin my weekend.
Yeah, it seemed to be, and I'm sure I said this 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was one of those weeks where if you had Son, you got a green arrow. If you didn't have Son, you got a red arrow. It was just one of those. Horrible week.
Yeah. Son was a bit of a killer, wasn't he? I did have Harry Kane and captained him, so it could have
Yeah.
been worse. Obviously, for the Mo Salah captainers, very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at some of the results gone. So we can see
Mm.
that Liverpool 1-0 win over Newcastle. We all expected Trent to start. We all definitely expected Salah to start. That didn't happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, we saw a little bit of a swing at the bottom of the table with Burnley beating your boys Watford right at the death. And then yesterday we saw Everton winning as well. It's going to be a good end of the season in terms of like that relegation battle, right?
Yeah, and also I think Villa beating Norwich. I was at that game. Norwich weren't great. They had a lot of the ball, but didn't do much with it. Ultimately, of course, unfortunately, that saw them relegated. But Aston Villa, Ollie Watkins scoring an interesting one because I know a lot of people are looking at him with the number of fixtures that they have left and their doubles. So yeah, and the clean sheet for Villa as well. I know a few people had looked at Matty Cash, Luca Digne coming back. So a few options emerging potentially for the upcoming doubles.
Yeah. Guys in the chat, say hello. We're here to answer your questions today. We're with you for the next hour. We're going to be showing our teams. We're both looking at, well, Kelly's looking at using a chip this week. I'm planning a chip. I'm going to be showing you a free hit draft. We've got FPL Visa coming up later. So stay tuned for the next hour. Dread FPL is with us. Hello to you, mate. Hello, Steve. Do give us a like and a subscribe if you're new around here. For many of you joining in to perhaps see Dean, he's away watching Fulham. Hopefully, get the
You see the
league
score,
title
Janet?
tonight. No,
Have
I
you
don't
seen the
actually know
score?
the score. What are they?
6-0. I think it's 6-0 the last time I checked. 6-0 up against Luton.
He's
Wow.
having
They're
a
getting the
he's having a
title.
he's having a good time. Okay, good. So Dean will be back with us on Friday's stream, which we might actually move to Saturday because the deadline's been extended. But yeah, so far so good. Thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, Kelly, it seems to be one of those weeks where we couldn't predict what was going to happen. Like we couldn't predict things like the Mo Salah benching, captaincy. We thought if we go Kane and even if Son scores, they're going to match each other for points. But at the moment, it does seem to be Son's flavor of the month, right? If you were wildcarding right now,
Yeah.
you're probably picking Son, aren't you?
And also Kulusevski getting returns in that as
Yeah.
well. I kind of thought maybe his returns had dried up. I wildcarded a couple of weeks ago and I got rid of Kulusevski. I also hold my hands up. One of the worst decisions I've made this season, getting rid of Bukayo Saka. And this week I nearly reversed it, did a -4 to get him back in. I'm now going to get him back in this coming game week because I'm bench boosting. But yeah, there's a lot of options all of a sudden, and it's quite exciting because I think there could be a bit of variance over these coming game weeks. People have got chips left to play. I've still got two. I think there's a lot of players in form, so it's quite hard to know who to pick, particularly with these doubles. There's going to be bench boosts active. Yeah, I'm excited to see some of the selections because there's going to be a few headaches for managers.
There is. And going into what is a double game week, a massive double game week in 36, we just wonder where we're going to see a little bit of rotation. And that brings us to our first question of the night from Cherie. Is Robbo worth the -4? Now, my take on this is I think Robbo is going to miss one of the 36 fixtures. And the
Yeah.
reason I think that is because Klopp's pretty much said it after the game. He said, I considered playing Simicast, but I couldn't rest three of my starting back four altogether. That would have been too risky going to St. James's Park. So we rested two of them. And I think, therefore, Robbo is going to be due a rest. And you look at their 36 fixtures, they play Tottenham and Villa. You think maybe he plays a Spurs game and Simicast plays the Villa game. So for me, I wouldn't be taking a 4-point hit this week for Robertson. Would you, Kelly?
No, I agree. In a way, I actually, as disappointing as seeing Trent benched was, those comments from Klopp after. Well, firstly, as soon as I saw Trent benched, I thought, right, he is still going to bench people during this title
Yeah.
run-in. This is rubbish this week, but the Robbo owners are going to have this coming. So the way I look at it is Trent's benching hopefully now is out of the way, and Trent and Mo shouldn't. I can't imagine Mo Salah wanting to be on the bench too much, shouldn't be rotated, though it does also have to act as a warning. Liverpool are still going for this quadruple. They've still got an FA Cup final as well. I don't particularly love, sorry, Gianni, James and Alonso as options at the moment. I'm an Alonso owner.
Yeah.
I'm not wild for either, so I understand why you're looking at getting them out. But for this double, I don't think I'd do a -4 to get rid of them for Robbo. I think there's actually, you can probably downgrade them to some better options and then use that spare money elsewhere. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I'm looking at maybe selling James or Alonso. I've got both. And if I do, I'm looking at Man City defence. Similar price points and perhaps a little bit more nailed, knowing their fixture congestion isn't as bad as Liverpool's. So, yeah, good cracking question there, Cherie. I think we're going to have one more question and then we're going to move on to our teams. So we've got a question from Max. Kane to Richarlison and Havertz to KDB if you have a free hit for 37.
I love that.
Yeah? Planning for that 37 is key, isn't it? So bringing in your doublers like Richarlison makes sense.
I really like Richarlison. I've actually looked at if I could get Pukki up to Richarlison this week. I don't think I can because I also I'm on a bench boost in the coming week and I want to upgrade a Marty. So I can't upgrade Pukki as well. But if I could, I'm also going to be getting rid of Havertz. I think KDB, similarly, KDB had his bench in this week, though I don't think it's quite as obvious with Pep. I still wouldn't put it past Pep to bench him 2 weeks in a row. And I think the Champions League will have a big bearing.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I will speak more about Richarlison later. Likewise, KDB, because when we see my free hit draft, he might or might not be my chosen captain this week, KDB, if I had him. I think he's a cracking option. So yeah, one to definitely look at. Guys, before we move on, please do give us a like and a subscribe. And also, if you're perhaps on Twitter, in the FPL community, on Instagram, please do help us grow the channel by sharing our link. We want more people watching the channel, and we get that by your interaction. So thank you guys for the support. We are new. We got to 1,000 subscribers the other day. We're buzzing about that, and we're going to be here for the foreseeable future. So Mondays and Fridays at 7 p.m. So let's move on and check out our teams. Dean's going to be absolutely flying. I've just seen Nuclear Atoms in the chat said 7-0 Fulham. So Dean's going to be having a great time.
I'm not saying anything, but I'm a Watford fan and they're playing Luton. So
yeah, I was with we had a baby shower at the weekend, and my cousin Paul, we call him Cousin Paul. He's actually not my cousin; he's my mum's cousin, but we all refer to him as Cousin Paul. He's a Luton season ticket holder, and I had such good chats with him over the weekend about Luton because he's just buzzing. He's like, we might make the playoffs. This little Luton, with all of our injuries, might make the playoffs. So.
It's funny, I joke, I am obviously a Watford fan, but I joke it would be a remarkable story. I did the FA Cup game against Chelsea there, and there feels like there's something special happening there. It is a bit of a footballing fairy tale, but yeah, could be interesting seeing Watford go down and Luton come up maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to more FPL matters, and maybe Luton will become FPL next season. We'll be part of that conversation. We know Fulham will be, and I'm sure Mitrovic will be. So look, we're going to show our teams. We're going to show my team, then we're going to look ahead at my team, then we're going to show Kelly's current team and look ahead at her team. So it's not been the best of weeks. I'm on a small red arrow. My current overall rank is just shy of 13,000 rank. I'm really keen to get to that top 10k. I think it's possible because I've got a free hit in hand. But yeah, it was one of those weeks where you didn't have Son, you captain Kane, you probably didn't get a green arrow. Many captain Salah. So I guess that was a little bit of a lucky escape. But the Chelsea boys are the big disappointment. Like, I've had James now for 4 or 5 weeks. I've not had more than 2 points from him in a single week. They're just not keeping clean sheets. And then Havertz again, like they're not even getting 2 pointers. They're the 1 pointers. Thankfully, I brought my boy Foden in. Got me 9 points. I've still owned him every game this season for all his goal contributions. That's going well. And Kulu coming off the bench. I was disappointed to see him benched, but it looks like he'll be back in that 11 straight away. Were you impressed with him, Kelly? He came on at like 55 minutes for Lucas and changed the game, really.
He's just so good. He's made such a difference to this Spurs side. I was talking to someone the other day and said, if Liverpool win the title, it'll be down. A lot of it will be down to the signing of Luis Diaz. And I kind of think when you look at Spurs' January business, if they make this top 4, I know it's in Arsenal's hands, I think their January business is a big factor. We've talked already about Son. They are still reliant on Son, but whilst Kane maybe hasn't been scoring quite as many lately, Kulusevski has added another element to that attack. So yeah, I think he's been brilliant, and he's kind of one of the standouts from the second half of the season for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was really impressed. Let's have a look at what I'm looking to do with my team then. Like, I'm not using a chip this week, but I've been prepping for some time to make sure come game week 36, I have 11 doublers out. I've still got a transfer to make, and you guys in the chat can help me decide what transfer I should make, because It's a bit of a tricky one. I'll probably sell one of my Chelsea assets and I'll probably bring in a Man City player. I've got 500,000 in the bank. So I could go Alonso to Laporte. I could go James to Laporte. I could go Havertz to perhaps a bit of a fun Man City midfielder pick. But again,
it's just so risky.
It's so risky to pick one that's going to play twice. Like KDB, but I can't reach him.
Yeah, I would. I when I looked at that, the first thing I thought is, you want, in my opinion, you want either the City or the Liverpool defensive double up, or you want the City or Liverpool attacking double up. I think the City and Liverpool attack is a little bit risky at the moment and also pricey. I quite like Jota, but it's just too risky. I would look at your team and say I'd get rid of. I think you'll get rid of Alonso, won't you, over James? I've got a hunch. But I also, on my wildcard a couple of weeks ago, at the time I was annoyed I did it because it didn't pay off in the first week. I went for the City double up at the back rather than the Liverpool double up at the back. And then Robbo got 15 points. Of course he did. But I'm still happy. I set myself up for this game week and I've got Cancelo and Laporte, and I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. Loads in the chat suggesting maybe I go Broja to Nketiah. And look, whilst that makes sense, if I perhaps need a bench, I don't have a bench boost to play. I'm free hitting in 37. So all I need is a team in 38. Go on.
Then bench one of your Chelsea defenders.
I could, but I don't think Nketiah over James or Alonso is a big advantage. I think he'll start both games, but Leeds and Spurs, I don't see bags of goals there.
I suppose you've got the Arsenal attack covered as well with Saka.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So look, if I thought I needed a bench, then sure, Broja and Nketiah. If this was game week 10, I'd be making that move, right? But knowing I only need this week and I only need 38, I don't think I'm going to rely on a substitute again this season. I really don't, because there's 2 games. Even if we get a surprise benching, they'll play game 2.
Also, I just think that you should have 5 of City and Liverpool in this game week, and it goes back to what I said before. They're going for the title. There's going to be rotation. I like you, have Foden, Cancelo and Laporte, and I'm really happy with that. And I had the same 2 Liverpool as you. And I'm contemplating getting another Liverpool. But yeah, I think having an extra City player is better than having an extra Arsenal striker who, yes, I think it is in Nketiah's place at the moment to keep in the team, but he's not completely nailed, in my opinion. Lacazette could get a rogue start. I don't know.
Yeah, like if Nketiah plays badly against Leeds, he'll be dropped. And he won't play game 2. He's one game away from being dropped. And at the moment he's playing well, so he's keeping his place. But it's a bit risky. And with the London derby and Lacazette's experience for that Spurs game, I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, I think I'll go City. It'll probably be Laporte for a defender. If I could have reached Mahrez, I might have been tempted, but I can't. Havertz to Mahrez, I haven't got enough. I could go Havertz to Bernardo, but I'm not going to make that move. So yeah,
it's just so risky doing a City. On my last free hit that I did in City's double, I can't remember what game week it was, I guessed and went with Mahrez. Every time I've ever owned Mahrez, it goes wrong.
He is one of the biggest trolls in FPL, Mahrez. Yeah. He's definitely.
I've never had him for any of his points. I've had him quite a few times.
Yeah. I feel like that with Mahrez as well, to be fair. He seems to me like more of a free hit player than a kind of a transfer in. Okay, so we've seen my team. Let's move on to yours, Kelly. We'll see where your team is at the moment and then your plans on bench boost, because your squad on bench boost looks amazing. So yeah, talk us through this week.
Rubbish. I mean, 3 points from 3 Chelsea players is really disappointing. Like, to get 3 points from Chelsea players, to get 1 point from my 2 Liverpool.
Yeah.
Kane has saved me a little bit there, but only because I captained him. And Man City, it's all about Man City this week for me. I've obviously got huge 2 points coming off the bench for Pookie. Whoop-de-doo. So I'll be up to 41. Fortunately, in the few head-to-heads I'm in, I've beaten people just, I think. But yeah, really disappointing week, especially as I only wildcarded 2 weeks ago. But I was setting myself up for this double, as you mentioned, and then I've got the free hit the week after. So I'm around 60, 63, I think, now, which I don't think is a massive red arrow. I can't remember what I was the week before. I've been hovering between 50 and 70k for a few weeks now. So I really want to get into that top 50k if I can.
I think you will. I like your strategy and I like the look of your team. You were unlucky with Mason Mount, and you have been the last couple of weeks. Hit the post on a half volley that went from one post to the other post and out. Like,
I'm going to sell.
So
when we look at my team in a minute, this is me asking for your Chelsea expertise, really. Because I am going to be on a bench boost. I want to be able to upgrade a couple of players. Who's the better Chelsea option at the moment to keep, Mount or Havertz, would you say?
In terms of minutes, Mount. You keep Mount, but in terms of expected points, I always feel like Havertz, knowing he's in the 9 role when he plays, I feel like he's a better FPL asset than Mount. But Havertz is very close to a benching. The vast majority of Chelsea fans thought he was going to be benched this week. There was the sort of a community on Twitter that predict Chelsea and City 11s, and 32% of them thought Havertz would start. I think it was 1 in 3 thought Havertz would start, and so I think he's so close to a benching. So I was delighted that he started.
Make way.
Yeah, he might have to be. He's definitely at risk. So yeah, Tech Exio said easy Havertz, Alonso to Saka.
Sorry, I don't agree with that. I'm on a bench boost, so can we look at? Is it possible to look at my team for this week?
Let's move forward and check out Kelly's team.
Then I can explain. Like, I've also explained my theory with Robbo. Actually, I'm not as worried about not owning him this week. Don't get me wrong; he could get a double-digit haul. Maybe he won't be benched. We could be wrong, but I'm quite happy with my team as it is. However, my biggest error, I do agree with Tech XEO in that I do need Saka, so Havertz will probably go to Saka, and then because I'm on bench boost, and Marty will get upgraded to, I don't know, I'm open to suggestions really who to upgrade him to. I might, and I'm not adverse to making 3 changes to this team from -4 because I'm on a bench boost and because I'm trying to push.
Oh, so you got 2 free transfers already then?
Yeah, so that's why I'm happy to potentially make 3 if they're the 3 right ones. So Havertz to Saka, I'm 99.9% going to do.
And then you'll have about 5 million to spend on a defender. You're a Marty replacement.
5.3, I think. Yeah, it'll be.
Oh, nice. Okay, there's options there. I mean, someone like Matip is around that price point, although could Konate play 1 game? Possibly.
Someone suggested a Marty to cash there, and I nearly did that this game week. But I didn't quite have enough. I think I'm 0.1 short to get to cash. I'm not 100% sure. I'd need to check. But Matip, is a good shout as well. That's coming in now from Mohamed. So yeah, I don't know. When I saw Luca Digne start at Villa Park yesterday, I was like, oh, but then again, he's one of those players that I always own when he doesn't return. But he was looking lively and putting in a lot of balls into the box, a lot of crosses, getting forward, really nice link-up play. So he's an option.
When you were at Villa Park at the weekend, Kelly, did you watch Dean and Cash? I'm guessing you were watching them with an FPL hat on as well, right? And did Dina catch the eye more than Cash in terms of like advanced positioning and stuff like that? No,
Cash had a couple of chances as well. And to be honest, when Villa were attacking, they scored down the end I was down and Dina was on my side, like the side I was on. So I think I was really watching him because I was like, I just wasn't expecting him to start. I knew he was coming back, but I wasn't expecting him to start yesterday. And I was a little bit like, hold on a sec. He could be almost a bit of a differential. I know Cash still is, but more people will have gone for Cash. Hold on, now we have 2 options. The other thing I noticed in that game was the second half, they brought on, first half, sorry, Leon Bailey got injured. So they had to bring on Danny Ings. And it's the age-old question. I asked it to Steven Gerrard after. Can Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins play together? The second half, Danny Ings, Ollie Watkins, and Philippe Coutinho were sensational. Some of their interplay, some of their movement, and the chances they created. That said, so I really like Watkins as an option. That said, I'm not wild for Coutinho because they were having a lot of chances and some of his play was brilliant, but I'm worried he's going to be the pre-assister.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Like a bit like we've seen in years gone by with KDB. Like we look at it and think, is he too deep? And when he's got 2 forwards ahead of him, and then you still get Ramsey's midfield runs. There was a chance I saw a match today this morning. I was just catching up on the highlights of the Villa game, and there was a chance in the box where I think Ramsey had a shot on target, and then there was another shot on target off the back of it. Coutinho was on the halfway line. Like he was there were 4 or 5. McGinn was ahead of him, Ramsey ahead of him, and I just looked at it and thought, oh, I'm not sure. And look, loads of good tips for Kelly to bring in perhaps Matt Cash or Dean or even Seamus Coleman, as John says. But do bear in mind, guys, she's free hitting in 37. So if she brings in a Villa player, she gets them on a double, but she doesn't get the good double. She gets Burnley and Liverpool, right? In terms of clean sheet points.
I'm not wild for Villa. And also one other thing I would say was Norwich had quite a lot of possession at Villa Park. Villa had so many chances that it worried me that they didn't score more. I know that sounds silly when they've won 2-0, But actually, I think Ollie Watkins, like I said, is the nicest option. His finish, I'm sure people will have seen it on Match of the Day by now, was a brilliant finish. So if I could, again, I would love to actually go from Pookie to Watkins. But as you just highlighted then, I don't get the great double. I can bring him in on my free hit if I want to. So I'm looking at maybe a Villa defender, but I'm not crazy for it. So yeah, I've got that's a decision I've got to make over the next couple of days, really.
Yeah, your game week 37, like me, when you're free hit, no doubt you'll have that Villa defender in then when they have Crystal
Yeah.
Palace and Burnley, for example. Also, guys, bear in mind, Aston Villa in game week 38, when Kelly might need that defender starting, they play Man City, right?
Yeah.
So we're only building a team here for 2 weeks. So I look at it and think Matip's the obvious one, but knowing they've got the FA Cup final, I think Konate will play one of those games.
Konate is a worry, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so it's really difficult. I'm just looking.
I'd almost rather, I
go
think,
for.
I'd almost rather, because I've got my Cancelo, my Laporte, my Foden, I've got Trent and Salah, I'm happy with those. I've got cover for those teams. So I am kind of thinking I would quite like cover from a different team where I know the player is just going to start both games.
Yeah.
That's kind of a consideration for me. But
Leicester have 2 homes, Everton and Norwich. If you could pick a Leicester defender that you knew was going to start both games, you could swap Amati, who might start one, for, I don't know, Johnny Evans or Fofana if we thought they were going to play both, or Castagna. Because in terms of on paper, teams you've not got cover of, Everton and Norwich at home.
But I have got Schmeichel in goal.
True.
So do I want to do the Leicester double up? I don't know. So yeah, I'll probably end up looking at Villa at this rate. Who knows?
The other option is you go Arsenal at the back. A lot have got Ramsdale, Ben White. You could go pretty much any Arsenal defender. Gabriel's always got good goal threat. He'll start both.
I like Gabriel actually. Yeah, I like Gabriel.
Just scored as well. Like he's a bit like Van Dijk. Like he gets so many headers at set pieces. He wins everything. He's an absolute beast. Söyüncü would start both. I'm not sure, Desara. Did you see Söyüncü give the ball away for the Romero double tackle that led to the Kulusevski assist to the Son second goal? I don't think Brendan Rodgers will be too happy with that. I'd be surprised if he starts both, especially knowing Fofana and Evans are back in the equation now.
Yeah, it's hard to pick with Leicester.
Yeah, I think so. Good stuff. I've loved looking at your team, Kelly, and I look forward to seeing how you get on the bench boost. Like, you're going to have 15 players playing twice, which is like the dream bench boost. Hopefully 15 players playing twice. Max has asked, Kane to Richarlison and Havertz to KDB has to be your move mate to get in the top 10k. Interesting. Okay. So do I sell Harry Kane though? I know the Spurs double doesn't look great. I think these sort of games could play to Harry Kane's strengths, because he'll actually, I think, against Liverpool and Arsenal, teams that have a go, Spurs are just as likely to score. Spurs struggle to break down your Burnleys when they park the bus. Yeah. So a little bit of space for Son and Kane.
Sam Bonfield, who watches Spurs a lot, she said that. That's why on the FPL show last week, she was saying, don't sell Son and Kane, don't be hasty. And she's been proven right. She said it's just the type of teams. They're teams that just set up to stifle Spurs. And as we saw, Brighton, I thought, did it brilliantly, the way they just stopped the supply to Kane and Son. Whereas other teams aren't good at the likes of Arsenal. They've got more purpose, but they'll try and do a bit more than just stifle them because they've got their own threats.
Yeah, I think so. Cool. Well, interesting proposition there, Max. I must admit, KDB captain would be nice. Guys, do like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Loads of you are watching. Thank you for joining. We're going to be with you till 8 o'clock, so you can still watch that United game off the back of this stream. I was going to say thread there. I'm in Twitter.
You're right, there, Gianni. It's been a long bank holiday weekend, has it? What are we on?
It's been a very long one and not much sleep. And I'm on Twitter looking at fixtures, and the word thread was just like there. It was like, oh, that thread. No, it's a stream because we're on YouTube, not Twitter, talking to you guys. So look, let's have a look at my free hit draft. We'll bring that on screen next.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I put this together this morning, and I must admit, yeah, I know. So Simicast is there, but I don't know if he's.
I can't work out if I love it or I hate it. Like, do I think you're a maverick and I admire you, or do I think you're absolutely bonkers? And
Simicast is literally there just because I think he'll play one game and I needed the funds. But obviously, this is team dependent to your team value, and Simicast could easily be upgraded for someone you know will play twice. So Simicast a little sort of pinch of salt, but all the others, the other 10, I actually really like the idea of being able to get KDB. I'd probably captain KDB over Salah.
Yeah, I like that.
Maddison, I like Maddison against Everton and Norwich. I think he could start both. He's had a rest now, a couple of rests. There is a little concern that he could have a knock.
I was
But
going
again,
to
I'd
say
wait for press
that was
conference.
my one thing I saw, that he does have a bit of a knock. So if someone's gone
Yeah.
into a double with a knock, do they play both?
Yeah, and again, like we'll know more off the back of the Roma game. So
Yeah.
for me, it'd be like, okay, how does he look against Roma? Does he play 90? Is he fresh? What does Rodgers say?
Yeah.
But the rest of the team, I must admit, I put this together and went, the strategy is definitely free hit 37. For those that were on the fence, and if like I look at this team, I'm not convinced this free hit team outscores my normal team. Like, sure, it's nice. I've got Edison and Cancelo. I've got double City defense. It's nice to have De Bruyne. It's nice to have Maddison. It's better to have Son than Kane, and I get Richarlison. But I don't see these as massive upgrades. Do you, Kelly?
The only thing it does is it spreads out your Harry Kane funds a little bit.
Yeah, good point.
Or it puts it into De Bruyne. I think having De Bruyne, I'm a little bit worried. There's someone I want to beat in one of my leagues, and he's about 10 points behind me now. And he's got De Bruyne, and I'm going to go in with Foden because I've already set up for this. We both wildcarded the same week, and he went De Bruyne. He doesn't have Harry Kane, and it's got it. Now I'm kind of quite envious that he's got De Bruyne. So I really like De Bruyne, and I think having Son over Kane is actually good. And Richarlison, I really like this team. Tsimikas I'm not sold on. I'm also not sold on Maddison. Maddison and Tsimikas are my issues with this team, Gianni.
Yeah, Tsimikas was the clickbait option in there. I just chucked him in because I knew it'd get some comments. But Tsimikas is the one that, as I said, like I think he might get one game. Obviously, you bump him up if you can. FPL family, great point on Maddison. Like, are Leicester interested in the Premier League? But my thing is if they beat Roma, they'll be flying and confidence will be high. They'll all be fighting for a place in the final. So like competition for places is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Maybe an increase in performance. If they lose to Roma, I don't know. Where does that leave them? Does that mean they go, oh, let's try and finish on a high, or the heads down, and then it's a bit of a meh end to the season, probably. So yeah, tough one to call that. I just like the fixtures. I'm definitely a fixtures manager. And when you see Leicester at home to Everton and then home to Norwich, remember Maddison's former club, Norwich, just like that.
Also, Norwich are now relegated, and they really didn't create much at the weekend, and they allowed a lot of chances against them. So I like that as a fixture to target.
Yeah.
And also Everton away we know what they've been like. That if they stay in the Premier League, it will be because of their home form. That said, they now desperately need to win, and I thought they actually were pretty impressive against Chelsea. Yeah. So maybe that's not quite the fixture. I'm just not sold on Maddison because of the slight injury doubt as well.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I'd be a little bit worried. And there's other Leicester midfielders you could look to. Brad's asked about Rafinha, Kelly. I sold Rafinha. I went to Foden, which works quite nicely. But the double's not great. Leeds aren't attacking much under Jesse Marsch. No. The honeymoon period's over. It's not Bielsa ball. Rafinha's not that involved, is he? Like, in terms of goal threat, Leeds don't really have it at the moment.
I owned him, and I owned him when Leeds won at Watford. And he scored... what was it, 3-0? I think we lost that day. And he scored a stunner, but it was a stunner. And we know he's got that in the locker, but he's not having the chances he was having. And I've got a good friend who's a Leeds fan. He actually went to Watford that day, and it was basically a game between two poor teams. One could score and one couldn't. And he said, we're not as good as the results are suggesting when they were winning, and now they're losing. So I actually didn't realise until today, maybe it's because I was off yesterday, I was checking the Premier League table on my way back from friends earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realise how much Leeds have been dragged into it again. So for me at the moment, they're not in form. I would be keeping away unless they had a really nice double. I wouldn't go near personally.
Yeah, and the double is Arsenal, Chelsea. Like, ooh,
also, if you've got that money, go for a Saka. There's just better options at that price point with form and fixtures.
Yeah, I'm with you there. John's asked about Richarlison.
It's funny.
Getting a red at the first game of the double, you never know. Like he probably get a yellow, like at minimum. I still think Richarlison's a nice pick.
He won't, because he'll want to come and play away at Watford. Watford will probably already be relegated by then. His former club, he'll want to come, winds up the fans and score loads of goals. So for me, Richarlison is a brilliant pick for this game week.
Kelly, do you remember what Richarlison was like for Watford? I can't remember at the end of his time there when it was obvious Watford were going down. He was probably playing for a transfer. Like he knew he was going, maybe not to Everton at the time, but he was thinking, I need to step it up here because I want a better summer move. At Everton, like if they go down, he's clearly going to get a good move.
Yeah.
What do you think to Richarlison? Is he someone that will fight until the very end?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's. I just think he's that kind of player. I think, like you said, he just desperately wants to win. And like you said, he might be playing for a move, but he at the moment is single-handedly scoring the goals that are going to keep Everton in the Premier League. He'll want to be that main man, so that even to try and keep them up, but even if they do go down, give him the best opportunity. So I think even if they lose against Leicester, he's still a brilliant option.
Yeah, let's have a question next from Eddie. Eddie, he's free hitting 37. So are we. We're in the same boat there. Should I do a -8 to get Schmeichel, Mahrez, Gordon? Oh, these long questions are difficult, guys. I need to see your whole team. Schmeichel, Mahrez,
No,
Gordon for Sar Havertz.
all of this is no.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not.
Why would you do that? So the reason I might take a -4, Eddie, let us know. Are you on a bench boost? Because if you're on a bench boost or something when you're going to make up more points, that's the only reason I'm considering a -4. We're at the stage of the season now. If you're free hitting in 37, you're taking a -8 for 2 game weeks.
Yeah.
That to me is a lot of points. That think what you need to make those 8 points up, not to mention the points that you might lose from
Havertz could go, Havertz
Yeah.
is still got a double game week. Like he could very easily
Yeah.
still haul. I like Schmeichel's inclusion. I think
So do I.
Schmeichel for Sar's a nice move. Like Wolves are just conceding for fun. Their double is Chelsea and City. Like that could be minus points for Sar. And Schmeichel's we know Schmeichel out of all those Leicester players, he'll play both.
Sar does get save points though, so I don't think he's like they might concede goals, but Schmeichel, if you were on a wild card or if you were bench boosting, I would say do Schmeichel to Sar. Mahrez for me, don't get me wrong, if he plays both of these double, he's probably going to score masterstroke. If he doesn't, think how frustrated you'll be. That's kind of my issue. There's no one there. It's not like you're talking about getting a -8 because you desperately want KDB, Salah, or someone like that. I don't look at any of those players and think if I looked at his team now, I don't think I would look and go, oh my gosh, where's Schmeichel? Where's Mahrez? Where's Gordon? In my opinion.
Yeah. When I take hits like that, Eddie, if it's a 4-point or even an 8-point hit, and I rarely go to an 8, but if it is, when I do that, it's usually to bring in a captain option. It's because I want KDB this week. I think he's the best captaincy option, and the only way I can get him is a -8. Well, that's worth it because you're giving him the armband. Those 3 players you're bringing in, you're not even close. These guys wouldn't even have your vice captaincy, would they? So I'd be hesitant. I think it's a bit.
I also just look at it and think you're taking a -8. Are those 3 players not only going to get you 8 points, but probably get you 8 points on top of that? Do you know what I mean? Are you really going to get enough points to justify it? 8 points is a couple of assists or a goal, and for me, they're not players that you desperately need. If you could have Schmeichel, Mahrez, that great, but I wouldn't do a -8. If you do a -4 to maybe bring in Schmeichel, great, but yeah, too much for me.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Bulo said about Son, like perhaps even not so differential captain. Like a lot are going to give Son the armband. He just got how many points did he get this weekend? 19 points or something.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be very highly owned, and he's definitely going to be highly captained. I know it's Liverpool and Arsenal, but as I said, and look, FPL family are in the chat watching. If Sam and Lee are together, Sam, let us know.
They're not because it's definitely Lee that commented, because he commented on Maddison, and your team at the time didn't have Kane in it. So I think Sam would have said it had more to say about Spurs.
We know them so well, don't we? And guys, do check out FPL Family stream in an hour's time. They're on live tonight, so check that out. Son as a captaincy option, I like it. I still think you probably go Salah or De Bruyne if you've got them, but Son definitely is worth consideration for sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Kelly, out of this team, here we go. Let's go to Lee first. Actually, couldn't get better.
I love that we're just saying it's Lee now because he's not. But Lee is a Liverpool fan. He's saying couldn't get 2 better fixtures for Everton. Gordon, the one though for me, not Richarlison. Lee, I'm interested as to why. I do think Gordon's a really good option as well, and his price point is so good.
Yeah, he is still 4.5-ish or 4.6 set piece threat. But yeah, we're going to speak more about Richarlison later because he's definitely my Everton pick. When a team is fighting and if they survive, there's always that one iconic player that's part of that survival. For me, as good as Gordon is, it's going to be Richarlison. That one iconic player for me, I think, we'll remember Richarlison's goals that keep, hopefully for me, Everton in the Premier League. I'd love Everton to stay up. But I'm a bit of a Frank Lampard fan, so there we go.
Yeah, Chelsea. That's the Chelsea in you coming out.
It is. Let's go to the last question before we move on. Max said, if we had Salah and KDB, who'd you captain? The great point. The armband here is on Salah on this free hit. But actually, I think I would be going KDB. Salah will be my captain this week. But if I was free hitting and had them both, I'd be going to City, I think, Kelly. Would you?
I agree completely. I prefer
After
their
that
2
rest.
fixtures. I think De Bruyne has been rested, as has Salah, admittedly.
True.
But I just think De Bruyne's form is slightly better than Salah's at the moment as well.
Yeah, and Salah does have that cup final as well. So if they're cruising against Aston Villa, when you want him playing 90 and they're 2-0 up after 60, you just never know. Even with his rest, it's like they've got a cup final to prepare for. KDB, perhaps the fixture congestion is just not quite as bad for Man City, which you often expect them to have a huge amount of fixtures, but it's not too bad now. Champions League is kind of out the way after the return leg. Ben has said he's just hit subscribe. Ben, thank you for that. Loving that. He's saying hi, Kelly. Good to have you on, Kelly. This is your second time on the show. For those that don't know Kelly, I'm sure 99% do. Kelly not only works for the BBC and is like the go-to for their FA Cup coverage and their England coverage, but also, Kelly, FPL is like a key thing for you, right? You present the FPL show and the FPL pod, and loads in the chat have said they listen to you every week on the pod, which is pretty cool.
Thanks, that's really nice. Yeah, the pod's been great fun this year, actually. I've really enjoyed that. We get lots of different voices on there, and it's really grown. Loads more people listening. So thank you to everyone that listens and watches. I speak to myself and James Richardson as well, who's of course an FPL legend, done the show from the start as well. We absolutely love all the interaction we have with you guys. And obviously, Gianni, we came to Fest. James and I hosted it the week, and we both absolutely love that. So thank you to everyone that's listening.
Good stuff. It was awesome to have you present at Fest. And there's quite a few in the chat, I think, that were there as well. FPL River saying, I'm pretty sure we all know Kelly. Yeah, sorry, FPL River.
That's so nice. Right. Thanks, everyone.
Ali says, pleasure to listen every time. There we go. I'm sure Ali's a regular on the podcast, listens on a Thursday. Guys, coming up next, but this is a feature we do every Monday. This is the review show, right? So we look at the weekend fixtures just gone, and I watch a lot of football. And this weekend, I've watched mainly highlights rather than live games, but I've still been able to do a bit of scouting. So I'm going to give you 3 players that I think we should definitely have our eyes on for our FPL teams for the run-in. So this is the eye test report. I'm starting at Goodison Park. And we just mentioned, like, sort of, if Everton stay up, there'll be that iconic player. And for me, like, that will be Richarlison. And I genuinely think now Everton are going to stay up. I think Leeds are in real trouble. And I think Richarlison's going to get some serious goals. Like, he's so involved. Without DCL in the team, he's on the penalties as well. And this is a season where we've not had good options up front in FPL. Many of us have got Harry Kane, and then we've got 2 4.5s or 5 million, your Broyers, your Nketiahs. And if you can find a way of getting to that 7-8 million price point and getting someone like a Watkins or a Richarlison in your team, I think we should be looking there. And look, if you don't have chips left, someone like Richarlison should be on your radar because, of course, he doubles in 36 and doubles in 37. I know I'm free hitting Richarlison in 37, so I'm not looking at him in 36. And the fixtures in 37 are better because this is key for Everton. It's 2 away games in 36, 2 home games in 37. So Brentford and Palace, I think he's captainable in 37. I really do. And then they finish against Arsenal in 38, which could be a kind of huge game at both ends of the table. But is someone you'd look at, Kelly? That free hit team for you in 37, I'd say you're probably pretty set on Richarlison, are you?
Yeah, I'm really set. And I'm like I said, I've looked at how I can get him in for this game week. I don't think I can, and knowing I have that free hit. But if I didn't have that free hit, I would be bringing him in. It's weird, isn't it? Because all season we've gone for particularly when Harry Kane found form, we've gone for the premium forward. At times it's been Ronaldo, then Harry Kane, and then a really cheap striker and a cheap strike partner. And it's been hard. Now all of a sudden these mid-price options have emerged because Raul Jimenez hasn't hit the heights. In previous seasons, Raul Jimenez was your 8.5, 8 million kind of go-to, wasn't he? He's not hit the form since his injury. So we've kind of either had Harry Kane and then kind of we had a bit of a flirtation with Weghorst. We've kind of gone between other players, like Ivan Toney had his time, but it's been so hard. So this mid-point range is almost quite hard to then put into your team. That's what I find. Like, he's too much to upgrade my Pookie, but I don't think I want to downgrade Harry Kane. So it's quite an awkward price point, I've found.
Yeah, like it requires serious surgery, and no one's got 4 million in the bank to upgrade your Broyers, so it's really difficult. Like, looking at 37, Salah plays Southampton in a single game week. Son and Kane go to Burnley or play Burnley at Spurs. Leicester, Everton, Palace, Burnley, and Villa have double game weeks. So out of all those clubs, you might want to punt on a Watkins or a Coutinho captain. But I think the standout double game weeker for captaincy is Richarlison to Brentford and Palace. Or you go for your single game week Salah, your single game week Son or Kane. But I think there'll be quite a few looking at Richarlison if he does well in 36 to go, maybe I'd give him the armband in 37, which like sounds crazy.
Yeah.
We're captaining someone in a relegation threatened team, but maybe we are. That'll be an interesting conversation next week.
I agree. Yeah.
FPL River said about the possible ban. Yeah, it'll be worth monitoring. It's probably I don't know. I don't even have an opinion on this. Like I was surprised to see him pick it up and throw it, but at the same time, I've also heard reports that it was thrown in a direction where there's no fans to a corner of the stadium where no one's actually sat there, and we didn't see where it landed on TV, did we? So watch this space. Sure, no early transfers. Wait until your Friday to make those moves, but we'll know a lot more by then. So worth monitoring. Moving on with my eye test report, I've said I'm going to do 3 players. Done with Richarlison at Everton. I'm now going to move to Spurs. And look, it would be very obvious and a little bit boring to tell you all that Son is someone you should buy. So I'm not going to speak about Son. I'd love him. Many of us that have got Kane are probably set. We're probably not able to make that switch. One midfielder at Spurs we can still bring into our teams is Kulusevski. So he's someone that I'd really be considering if you've got, perhaps you've got, I don't know, a 4.5 or a 5 million midfielder. If you can find that extra million to upgrade a Dewsbury Hall or a Gordon, as good as those guys are, if you can get Kulusevski in your team, you've got serious fire there. Like the guy is so creative. He came on at 55 minutes yesterday. He's still got bonus points. Like he's just a bonus points magnet. Like there's 32 metrics to the bonus point system. And perhaps another time I'll do a stream about what those are, right? But you're rewarded in the BPS for things like successful dribbles, take-ons, key passes. He's really good at all of those things. Pass completion. He's good at successful crosses. You saw for both of his assists to Son, he just has a really amazing way of finding space and time. Like that's a real luxury in his position. And he just found Son so well for both those passes that became assists.
You're making me start to think. You're making me start to think I'm going to do Havertz, Saka, and that'll save me a bit of money. And if I do my -4, I could potentially do. I need to look into it. I'm saying this off the top of my head. I could potentially do Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah.
To him, and then I would have to downgrade. Maybe I wouldn't actually, but you're tempting me, and now I've got another option to think about as well.
I thought maybe you could do that, and then actually you leave a Marty, but he probably starts one game, so you get one out of him. I think it depends how they go against Roma, doesn't it? One to monitor that. And Amati didn't play well against Spurs. He lost Kane for that corner. It was dreadful marking. Bit of a block from Dyer, but still, he wasn't good enough. FPL Harry said Zaha, better than Kul. Maybe. Zaha Kulusevski is an interesting one. And look, this comes down to what chips you've got as well. Because for me, again, I'm not interested in Wilf because I know I'm free hitting in 37. So Zaha will be in my team when he plays Villa and Everton in a double. The guy's on pens. He's had a little rest. Looked sharp when he came on yesterday. Final day of the season, Crystal Palace play United as well at Selhurst Park. I think that's quite a nice game for Palace. Yeah. And of course, Zaha against his old club. So Zaha's also a very good option. Bit more expensive than Kulu, I think.
Who Palace? Remind me who Palace have got this week. I've completely forgotten.
They've got your boys, Watford, in a single.
Oh, he always scores against Watford as well.
Oh, didn't he have? I remember when I worked at Palace, he kicked. There was some sort of weird thing between him and the mascot.
There's a little bit of a weird rivalry between him and Harry Dornett. So actually, I'm starting to think that maybe he's not actually a bad option this game week.
Yeah, exactly. Mario Buffon. Love that. We've got a Serie A fan in the house here. Kulu played like this for Parma. He absolutely did. And look, when he came into the Premier League, I think I wrote a Twitter thread about Kulusevski to say, if we see the Kulusevski from Parma, we're going to have a serious FPL option on our hands. And he's worth way more than the 6.5 he came in at. And at Juve, he was in and out of the team and he lost a bit of confidence. But yeah, the guy we saw at Parma was exactly the guy we saw at the weekend when he came off that cameo.
We also have to enjoy him while he's at this price point, I feel like. I don't know anything. But I feel like given the way he's played this season, I think he's been a bit of a snip.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's move on to Foden, my final one. I'm going to be quick on Foden. Like you guys, if you watch any of my streams, you know what a fan I am of him. He played in the KDB role at the weekend, which was interesting. I think that's probably the second time this season in the Premier League he's played as part of a midfield 3. I don't think we'll see him there again this double game week because KDB will be back in the team, and we'll see Foden on the left probably instead of Grealish, perhaps down the middle if Jesus needs a rest, who getting loads of game time. But the key thing to learn here is Foden is starting lots of games. He's not a huge rotation risk. When you look at the starts in the Premier League, he started something like 14 of the last 16. Like, he's starting a huge amount of games. So he's always involved. He's on a lot of set pieces. Even with KDB on the pitch, he'll have the left-footed in-swingers. So one to definitely look at, guys. Like, the City double is really tasty. It's Newcastle and Wolves. Newcastle go to the Etihad, then go into Wolves at Molineux. I think they could both be 3-4 goal games. Foden's going to be in the mix, and Kelly and I have both got him in our team. So definitely one to look at. And Mohammed's asked about Foden and Grealish or Foden and Gianni. I don't know what to make of that. What are you saying? Yeah, maybe Mohammed. Foden and Gianni are definitely a good combo. Like, I talk about this a lot. He has been in my team for every goal. Yeah, do you know what? This is where it comes to like FPL and football, doesn't it? Like, I'm not a massive Phil Foden fan, believe it or not, when it comes to actual football. Like, sure, he's a gifted player, but he's not my favourite England attacking midfielder. Mason Mount all day long. But who's the better FPL option? Foden all day long. So yeah, like, I will pipe on about Foden till the cows come home. But in terms of football, I'm not a huge fan. Like, sure, he's good, but FPL option, I love him because I love City. And I love City for the amount of goals they can score in FPL. And we just need a slice of that cake, I always feel.
He's a nice way, isn't he? Because he's a little bit cheaper than KDB. When he does get rotated, it doesn't feel quite as painful, I always think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Guys, we're going to move on. That was my test report. We're going to move on now to the final feature of the night. And this is one we want you guys getting involved with, right? So you're going to let us know if you should accept, reject, or delay 4 players we put in front of you in what is called FPL Visa. Okay, guys, in the chat. So we need 1-word answers on this. We'll pop up as many as we can on screen. I'm going to come to Kelly first on our goalkeeper for tonight. So, Kelly, we've only got 4 games left of the season for most teams. Alisson, should we accept, reject, or delay him into our teams?
Accept
Alisson. Because we know he's going to play every game, right?
Yeah. And it's a Liverpool defensive cover. They're not conceding any goals pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. Like, he's considerably cheaper than the other options. Like, yeah, sure, you can get Matip, but I think Kanate could probably come in and play a game. So if you've got a goalkeeper that perhaps, I don't know, is Jose Sarr, I would look at selling. If you've got the transfers in the bank.
I looked at something earlier. Liverpool haven't conceded in their last 3, I don't think, and City have conceded 1 in their last 3. At this stage of the season, yes, it's a lot of money to put into your defence, but you know they're going to play. You're basically just guaranteeing yourself clean sheets. And it's, I can't remember what their prices are. I know it's a lot of money.
6.0.
At this stage of the season, for 4 game weeks, for guaranteed points, I would go for it. I would pay that.
Yeah, like, you've got to spend 7.3 to get Robbo, 6.0 to get Alisson. Seems like a bargain. Even Van Dijk, 6.8, like a lot more. And Tech, in an ideal world, you do have Robbo in there, but many can't stretch that far. I certainly can't. And I've not had Robbo all season, and yeah, regrettably so. Okay, let's move on to Diaz. I'm going to kick us off with my take on Diaz. As good as Man City are, and I like double Man City defence, I'm going to say reject Diaz. And the simple reason for that is, if you go Diaz, you're probably not going Laporte. And I just think Laporte's the standout option if you want that third City player. He's someone I'm looking at, someone Kelly owns. He's actually a little bit cheaper than Diaz, and he's absolutely nailed for 90 every week. Diaz has had an injury, and I'm not sure he's ready to play twice a week for the run-in. And I know Laporte is ready to play twice a week for the run-in. What do you think, Kelly?
I totally agree. If it was the beginning of the season and Diaz hadn't had an injury, I would have gone for Diaz over him. But given where his fitness is at, given City's fixtures, given how well Laporte is playing, and given Laporte's price, I would go for Laporte over him. The 2 City defenders, if you want to double up, for me, it's Cancelo and Laporte. Or, as we talked about, maybe you could go down the Ederson route alongside Cancelo.
Yeah, I love that. There's been no delays on this. This is no one sitting on the fence here on Diaz. There's a fair few saying accept and a fair few saying reject. FPL River said Diaz reject, would rather Cancelo and Laporte. Yeah. Absolutely. Accepts as CH. Matthew Price, too expensive, rather have Laporte. You do say 0.1 there. He's been the informed centre-back at City this season, Laporte. And there was even at times before Diaz got injured where he was kind of coming out of the team for the occasional game, which I was surprised to see. Let's move on to our next one. We're going to midfield. We've done a goalkeeper defender. Now we're on to Son. This is quite an easy one, although it often requires surgery to get Son in, but you're surely taking Son if you can.
Every day of the week except, yeah. The only reason I don't have him is funds. Surely the only reason people don't have him now, given his form, is to do with money.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to get the chat's take on this. This is going to be accept for everyone. Too late in the season to delay on anyone. Good point. Can't be sitting on the fence in game week 36. What about Watkins, Kelly? Let's move on to Watkins, because this
is going to split things. I think this is really going to split. I think for a differential for the last few weeks, if you want Aston Villa cover, which some people will given their fixtures, I would accept him if you can get him into your team. I wouldn't ruin your whole template. I wouldn't do a -4, -8 to get him in. But I think if you're looking for a striker, if maybe you do want to downgrade Harry Kane and put the money elsewhere in your team, I like Watkins as a way of doing that.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. For me, it comes down to chip strategy. If you've got your free hit left and you're free hitting in 37, there's no need to buy Watkins now. It's Man City on the last day, don't forget. The double's not great in 36. If you don't have any chips left, though, of course, the double, look at Richarlison, look at Watkins. If you can only go Richarlison or Watkins, Kelly, and you don't have a chip remaining, they both double. They're both the same sort of price. That's a tough one. You go Richarlison.
Because they've got a lot more to play for, although Stephen Gerrard's saying they need to fight for their places. I get that. I just think that Richarlison is holding, as it's what I've said before about Richarlison, I think he's holding that team together. He will be the one that if they stay up, we'll be talking about his goals to have kept them up, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. Okay, final point on Watkins, Kelly, and just want to make the most of you being at Villa Park at the weekend. Do we think we'll see Watkins with Danny Ings for the run-in? You said they linked up well with Coutinho, and if so, does that affect Watkins' points, or does that help Watkins' future points, having Ings alongside him?
Personally, I think help, because I think the attack functioned a lot better.
Yeah.
And Stephen Gerrard said post-match that he wants to get them both in, and I've heard pundits say since they were so much better, he has to find a way to get them both in. And the luxury of the position Villa being in is that he can maybe tinker. That's the only thing, that he will maybe tinker, but I can't see him benching Watkins. I think Danny Ings was brilliant when he came on, so you could say, why does Watkins get to start over Ings? But I think he'll try. I think he'll try and use these few games to get them to play together. Personally, could be completely wrong.
A lot are going to be free hitting in 37 with Coutinho, Watkins, and probably Cash. I think if Ings starts the games in 36, I think a nice double up could be Watkins Ings with that and not go Coutinho. That would be an interesting take.
They're scoring enough goals for me. Don't forget that they'd lost. They hadn't won in 5 before the weekend. They scored 2 against Norwich, and it should have been a lot more. They'd only scored 2. I think it was 2 goals Villa scored in those 5 games. So they've not been free scoring. That's the only thing. So to have all of a sudden put all your eggs in one basket with one team, for me, is a little bit far. But see what happens this game week.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to some quick fire questions. Oh, I don't want to get involved with Chelsea. I don't want to be involved with Chelsea selection this week. Last week I did it, and my mentions on and just the correspondence on Twitter, the admin of getting involved with team selection is just. I said all week, Havertz will start, Foden will start, and look, I was delighted I was right on both those calls, but. It seems that if you want to go really big on those calls and say, yes, these guys are going to start, you're not going to get praised if you're right, but you're going to get absolutely slated if you're wrong. So I'm just not willing to go there this week, I don't think. I can manage this like a couple of times a month, but not 4 times a month, not 4 weekends. So PSP, I really can't tell you, like, flip a coin. There's a good chance he starts both. There's a good chance he starts one. With the FA Cup in mind, I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss the Leeds game. What do you think, Kelly?
I'm the same as you. You know more about it than me, and you're not sure. So I think that says it all, really.
Reece James is unpredictable.
Yeah, and I think Chelsea are unpredictable at the moment as well, which is a big part of it. He needs to get the best out of them now. Everything for them, surely, is about the FA Cup final. They do. I heard, I think it was Aaron Ramsdale or Rob Holding saying in their post-match interview yesterday, they want to secure 4th, and they said or 3rd. So Chelsea maybe. I don't think Chelsea are going to be fine, but. I don't know. They're not in the best form. We can't predict Tuchel. I wouldn't want to. And I bought in the treble up on my wildcard, and I do kind of regret it. And I'm looking to shift that balance this week. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. Like, I'm not convinced. No, I'm with you. Like, I don't think you're definitely not buying Chelsea players in now, guys. Like, you maybe are holding on to them. Like, I might hold 2 of 3. I might hold all 3, but Yeah, you're definitely not buying. John's asked about Son, KDB, Salah. I think we saw my free hit draft. If you're on a free hit, John, all three. Find a way. These three are like the three, probably the three best picks this week. So you get them all in. Let's move on. Eddie, should I go -4 to get Gordon for Saar and bench? Eddie, you were the part of the -8 question earlier, weren't you? I remember this.
Eddie, why have you still got Ismaila Sarr? That is the question. Why? How is Ismaila Sarr? You must have had a lot of other problems in your team because Ismaila Sarr hasn't been performing since prior to his injury, which was in November. So he's obviously listened to what we've said about -8 being a little bit much.
Good man.
So let's dissect this a bit, shall we?
Yeah, we'll try and dissect it. Although, guys, you've got to keep your questions really concise. Like, this is really difficult. We're going to have to move on from this one, actually.
But then I don't, because I don't know if you really need to bench any of those people. Havertz, I'd bench Havertz out of those ones, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I'd be reluctant. Dude, you've got this. go.
Panicking. That smacks of points hit panic right at the end of the season, Eddie.
Yeah, it does. It does. Differential of the week. I like this question, Denver. Pick one of Mahrez, Maddison, Bowen, interesting, or Jota. Or if only Jota was going to play both games.
I wish I was bold enough to go for Jota, because I think that even if he only plays one game, his points potential is so high. I like Jota a lot. Jota and Mahrez, if we could be guaranteed their starts, they're the standout options. I don't like I worry about Maddison's minutes and his injury. Bowen, well, I mean, he keeps performing, doesn't he? Because despite West Ham's Europa League, but I think Thursday could take a lot out of them.
Yeah, and he's only got a single game week. I know it's Norwich, but it's still a single. So I think I'd probably go Jota, knowing that I don't think he starts the cup final. The front three in the cup final will be Diaz, Mane, and Salah. I'd be surprised if it's not. So Jota almost certainly gets the Villa game, and he might get the Spurs game.
Okay.
Let's see what Tiffany's saying. Hey, Tiffany, still hold on to Son. Oh, you definitely hold your Spurs assets.
Tiffany, your team sounds incredible. You've got Son, Kane, Kulu, Salah, KDB. You've got double Liverpool, double City. Wow.
And Nketiah, yeah. You stay there. You stay there, Tiffany. I know that means you probably don't have Saka, but that's a small sacrifice. You load of premiums. Joala, when's a free hit 36-37? Look, if you're just tuning in, guys, when we end the stream in a couple of minutes, go back and check out my free hit draft about half an hour in. I don't think it's that much better than many teams. For that reason, free hit 37.
Also depends what City cover and what cover you've got for City, Liverpool and Spurs for this week for me.
Yep. Laura, we're going to answer your question, and then we've got one more before we bow out. Is Jesus worth the punt? That is all about mini league success for many managers. I like the fact you're looking at your competitors, Laura, and probably going, they've not got Jesus, they've not got Jesus. But at the same time, he's just not going to play all these games. He's actually got a huge amount of minutes, and at some point he's going to need a rest. He'll probably play against Real Madrid.
He doesn't play Watford every week. He's not going to get 4 goals every week.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to go Man City, I really think KDB is the standout. And then if not, I would still go Foden over Jesus. I really would. I know different positions, but similar prices. Yeah. I think we've got one more question from Desira. Gordon or Dewsbury Hall for Ramsey? Ooh.
Why are you getting rid of Ramsey?
Yeah, I wouldn't waste a transfer on that, Desira. No. Like, using transfers on your 4.5 million mids is a dangerous game, because the expectation for all of these guys should be appearance points, maybe a clean sheet point or two. If they get an assist or if they do get a goal, amazing. But you're just expecting 5-6 points from these guys in a double, right? Also, use your transfers with upside.
The one thing I would say is, on my wild card, I basically was looking for my 5th midfielder, and it was Gordon, Dewsbury Hall, or Ramsey, and I went for Dewsbury Hall because he was cheaper. But having watched Ramsey at the weekend as well, I actually think if you put those 3 in front of me, the order would probably now be Gordon, Ramsbury, Dewsbury Hall. So I think having Ramsey is good, and I agree with Gianni, don't waste a transfer.
Good stuff. Kelly, that's been an awesome hour. How did you
My takeaways just got here, Gianni.
Oh, I heard it. I thought I heard it. Good timing. Good timing. No, look, it's fine. Like, we're allowed to do that on our YouTube channel. It's very relaxing.
At least I didn't eat it. At least I wasn't eating it while on here.
What have you got coming?
We've got a Chinese coming. Ending the bank holiday style.
Yeah, love that. Good stuff. Kelly, thank you so much for joining. Guys, before you go, if you could like and subscribe the channel, that would be amazing. Also, drop a comment below. Like, feel free to comment outside of the chat, and I'll be checking those comments tomorrow. So thank you very much for your support. We'll be back on probably Saturday morning instead of a Friday night at 7 p.m. I'm actually away with work, so we're going to move it to Saturday morning. And I think Saturday morning might be a bit more fun because we've got an extended deadline this week. The FPL deadline is going to be around just after lunch, I think at 1:30, because the first game kicks off at 3 p.m. So expect to see us somewhere between 10 and 11 a.m. UK time Saturday morning. We'll be tweeting the time. Set a notification. If you subscribe, you'll get that notification for all of our streams. So thanks for watching, guys. You've been watching Chasing Green Arrows. I've been Gianni. She's been Kelly. Good night.